everyone, this is Dale Stratton and Dean Dorton. We're continuing with our Core Excel Tips and Tricks for Accounting and Development video series. Today's topic is multiple file types used with Microsoft Excel. The file types I'd like to talk about today are CSV, XLS, XLSM, and XLSX. All of these can be used with Excel, and notice that Excel is the default program that will open any of these file types. The most typical file type that you'll see today is the XLSX file type. Any workbook that is created in an Excel version 2007 or newer, by default will save as an XLSX type. So Excel 2007, 2010, and 2013 will all by default save this workbook XLSX file type. Any version of Excel prior to 2007, so 95 to 2003, would save by default an XLS file type. Let me explore some of the differences between these two. First of all, the XLS, or previous file type. I've opened it with Excel 2010, and notice it opens in something called compatibility mode. So my newer version of Excel can open the older file type just fine with no problems, but it is limited to the capability of that file type. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. The XLS, or old file type, had a maximum of 65,536 rows. It also had a maximum column of IV, which that's actually 256 columns. The newer file type, the XLSX, had a maximum number of rows of 1,048,576 and a maximum number of columns of XFD, which is actually 16,384 columns. So a significant amount more cells available in the XLSX file type. Also, notice the file size difference between these two. Notice my XLS old file type is 145 KB. My XLSX new file type is only 59. So even though there's a tremendous amount more space available in the XLSX and the amount of data is exactly the same in the two sheets, the older file type is almost 3 times the size of the new file type. That's just from enhanced coding and more efficient code that lets that be a smaller file size with more availability. Right, now also, if I go back and look at the old file type, anything that I do to this file using a new version of Excel that was not available in the old version of Excel will be lost when I save my changes. So for instance, when I go to save this workbook, it pops up a compatibility checker, and it checks to see if I've done anything in this workbook using my new version that's not compatible with the old file type. And if I want to go ahead and save and lose my options that I've created or any type of formatting, anything of that nature, I can just click continue and it will save the old XLS file type. If I want to make sure that all the functionality is available, I need to make sure and save it as an XLSX file type. Now, older versions of Excel, there was a compatibility option to be able to open the new versions of Excel with an old Excel program. So you should be able to pass files back and forth without trouble between different versions of Excel. Now let me talk about the XLSM file type. What this is if you create an Excel workbook, and in that workbook you record a macro. Let me show you an example of this. A macro is just really a word that you've recorded Visual Basic code. It's a whole topic unto its own, so I'll talk about that in another video series. But there's a macro in this workbook. In order to maintain the functionality of that macro, it has to be saved as an XLSM file type. If not, then the macro won't run. Now, to save these different file types, under the File menu, Save As, there's a Save As Type option. You choose the drop-down arrow, and in here, you'll see your types: XLSX, XLSM, XLS, and down here is the CSV. Now there's plenty of other file types in here, but those are the most common ones that you'll use or need to know about. Now, last but not least, let me talk about the CSV file type. CSV really stands for comma separated values. Notice you also see it called as comma delimited is another term for that. Now, a comma separated value is really nothing more than text. It doesn't save any Excel formatting or multiple sheets, anything like that. And it can actually be opened and looked at with Notepad. Let me show you what this actually does. Here's our CSV example in Excel. Notice the columns aren't formatted, there's no formatting at all, and there's no formulas. I'll show you how I got to this point. So if I'm on my XLSX or standard workbook type, I can pick any sheet. If I go to File, Save As, drop an arrow on Type, and pick my CSV comma delimited file type, put it in the same folder, see it changes the extension, hit Save, it warns me it's only going to save the active sheet. CSV files cannot have multiple sheets. I'm going to hit OK. It tells me also that I'm going to lose some formatting. So if I want to keep my file type of CSV, I have to click Yes. So I'm going to say Yes. I'm going to close and not save any additional changes that I might have made. Now, I go look and you can see what it did. Even though it's still called XLS example, it put a file type of CSV on the end. So the difference between the sheet that I was working on, the XLSX, and CSV is just the file extension. When I open the CSV file, you'll notice all formatting is gone. Also, any formulas would also be gone. They'd be stripped out and the values would be left. All other sheets are also gone. I'm left with just the one sheet, and it's renamed the same thing as the workbook title or the file name. Now this file can also be opened with Notepad. So CSV comma separated values, just to show you what it actually is. I'm going to right click, open with Notepad, and what you're going to see is you're going to see all of the Excel data with a comma in between each column. So it's truly a comma separated value. Excel knows how to translate all of this into a nice neat Excel sheet just simply by double clicking on it. Now once you get a sheet into a CSV format, you can always go File, Save As, choose your type, XLSX or standard workbook. I want to call it a different name, so I'm just going to put a little number 2 on the end out here. Save. And now I've got an XLSX format with the number 2 on it. I could go in here. It does not regain any formatting or any formulas for me. I'd have to redo all that work. But being this new XLSX type, I could then save whatever I wanted. Thank you very much and have a good day.